Hey folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. Can you use Mercon fluid in a transmission that calls for Merc V on a Ford? Well, I do, and we're going to talk about it. This video is sure to bring out the trolls, but leave your comment below because transmission fluid opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one. Alright, so I have a 2002 Ford F-150. I've had this old girl since she was new. I drove her off the lot with like 11 miles on it. That was after I did my 10-mile test drive, right? So, at 40,000 miles, she was still a young Ford, and I thought, you know, I want to change the transmission fluid on her and keep her in shape. And so I got under there, took the pan off, and changed that filter. The reusable gasket was still good back then. I had to throw it away a few years ago. Put the gasket back on, stuck the pan on, topped her off with some Dex3 Merc on, you know, some good old Dex3 Merc on. And started driving it, and it started shifting funny. And it wouldn't go into gear, and it wouldn't downshift right, it wouldn't upshift sometimes. I'm like, holy crap, what's wrong? What have I done? And then I looked at the dipstick and I said, only use Merc V in little tiny letters. Like, what the heck's that? And so, you know, I'd seen this particular transmission. They've used it in like trucks since '95, and they used it in some cars back in '92. And it's a Dex3 Merc transmission is what I've always used. Well, it turned out I had pressure washed off the engine too, and I got water in the throttle position sensor. And so it was bad. I had to replace it, and all the shifting problems and stuff went away, and it was perfect after that. But I got to thinking, like, holy crap, did I screw up my transmission by putting the wrong fluid in it? So I priced Merc V at the Ford dealer, which was pretty much the only place that had it back then. It was still pretty new. And I want to say it was like, you know, we're talking years and years ago, more than a decade ago. You know, it was expensive. It was $9 a quart or something. And I'm like, I'm going to have to flush it out to get all the Merc III out and then replace it all with Merc V. And so I talked to a transmission rebuilder, and he told me about a little product here, and it's called Super Lube. They sell this at Napa, or always have. I did get it from Amazon this time around just because I didn't have time to get to Napa because they're never open here. And this is Lube Guard. And it basically says it'll enhance Dex Merc to perform like Mercon V. And so you add 1 ounce of this for every ounce of Dex3 Merc you put in, and it'll make it behave like Merc V. Basically, I think you can use it in any Ford fluid. It says don't use it in the Type F stuff or whatever. But this has been fine. Like I said, 320,000 miles, and every time I've done a transmission fluid at 30, 40, sometimes maybe even 50,000 miles, I just kind of do them when it's about that time. I've done the same thing, Dex3 Merc, some of that. You know, this time around I'm using this Sam's Club brand, and it doesn't say Dex3 Merc except down there. It says, for use in vehicles serviced by Dexron III Merc. But I've got a mixture. I've got some Coastal. I'm just using up all my old cans of transmission fluid, old quarts of transmission fluid that are over there. And I'm going to change it. I got me a filter and gasket, cleaned up my pan. So I'm ready to put that back on there. Now, should you do this in your vehicle? Hey, I'd say if you've always run 5, maybe stay with it. If you're really wanting to get cheap, it's worked fine on this. Now, they put these same transmissions in older cars that called for Dex3 Merc. Now, does that mean that they did some internal changes to the transmission, to the friction material and stuff that really requires that fluid? Is Dex 5 synthetic and this is not synthetic? Is that the only difference? This is a different weight? I don't know. But, you know, this has worked. So maybe you don't want to do that. Transmission's pretty expensive, and fluid's not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. But like most things, I think it's important to change it a little more often and keep it good and clean, so that it doesn't get real dirty and black, and then you get a bunch of varnish buildup, and then you change it, and then you end up with a blockage or something. I think, it's better just to change it more often and keep it clean, and it's been fine. I would say that probably what has happened is they have had other transmissions and Ford Focuses and other things, right, that they need that better Merc V fluid for. So they just said, you know what, Merc V is backwards compatible to a vehicle that takes Merc. So we're just going to say that all Ford vehicles take Merc V. And I'm guessing they didn't change a single darn thing inside that transmission. And also on GMs, like, I'm talking like they're older now, but 2009, 8 back, when they switched over to that new Dexron 6 stuff, I put Dex3 Merc in those too, and they work fine. I've not had anybody with any issues. They do not make an enhancer for that though. But I'm talking when I see a transmission like on a 3.8 liter that I know they've been using forever. It's on a Series 3 now, but they've been using the same transmission since the Series 1 in the early 90s. And they use Dex3 Merc. I know that's probably fine. Now, if you get into a vehicle that's of new design and it hasn't been around for a while, then probably wouldn't be fine to do that. I usually try to get the customer to buy the more expensive fluids, and now SuperTech and stuff like at Walmart is making some of those fluids a lot cheaper than buying them at the dealer, and I think it's probably a good idea to go ahead and use the correct fluid. But if it was my vehicle and I had like a 2008 Buick or something, I'd have no problem putting Dex3 in it. I don't think it would be an issue at all. That's just my opinion. Do I have any real solid facts to back that up? Have I tore apart transmissions? No, I haven't. That's just my thoughts. It's just my best guess. So, follow this advice at your own risk. One guy and one truck with a lot of miles is anecdotal, right? I mean, you can't say that that's going to be for every vehicle. Your results could vary. But in my case, this has worked fine in this truck to use the Merc with the additive and save a lot of money along the way. I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom, your Frugal Prepper.